Pauls.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Gurnett.
Here.
Gray.
Here.
Jerem.
Here.
Milton.
Here.
Mr. President.
Here. Please stand for the pledge and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful fall day. Help us with our earthly work today and help us to make good decisions on behalf of the citizens of Omaha. Amen.
City Clerk certified publication in the Daily Record on September 12th. Notice for pre-council on regular City Council meeting September 16th, 2014. Current copy of Meetings Act is posted in white binder on the east wall of the legislative chambers.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Omaha City Council. This meeting is conducted in public and by law may only address the topics listed on the published agenda. The council will hear testimony but will not engage in debate of issues with the public at this meeting. During testimony, it's not appropriate to applaud or convey disapproval. These actions only detract from the formal decorum of the meeting. At this time, please turn off or mute any electronic device. And I have a moment of courtesy for Councilmember Amy Meltson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to take a moment. This morning I attended the funeral of Mike Simmons, and I just wanted to take a moment just to thank Mike Simmons and his family for everything that they have done. And for those of you who don't know Mike Simmons, he's been instrumental in donating so much to nonprofits and has benefited the city of Omaha. Donated more than $1 million to the Cancer Center. Sacred Heart, he's donated the air conditioning. I think over $500,000 just this year went to Sacred Heart. And the list of nonprofits that he's donated to in Omaha, I could go on for a long time, and so I won't do that. But I just wanted to take this moment just to say thank you, give our best wishes to the family and on behalf of the city of Omaha for all the good that he's done. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk.
Pursuant to City Council Rule 7E, agenda item number 5 shall laid over for 2 weeks. Liquor item number 6, Agave Azteca, 685 North 132nd Street, Class I liquor license, new application, new location.
Public hearing number 6 is today. Proponents, please. Mr. Kelly.
Mr. President, members, Mike Kelly, 7134 Pacific. I'm here with the applicant. He's here if you have any questions. This is a new restaurant in West Omaha. Or, well, it's almost going to be Central Omaha anymore, but I still consider it West. And it's just to complement their food service. We're here for any questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Second.
Roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Gray. Jerem. Milton.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
And Jerem passes a second time for a potential conflict of interest. It is approved, 6-0-1 passing. Consent agenda. Any member of City Council may cause an item placed on the consent agenda to be removed. Items removed from consent agenda shall be taken up by City Council immediately following the consent agenda in the order in which they were removed, unless otherwise provided by the City Council Rules of Order.
The public hearings on agenda items number 7 through 11 were held on September 9th. Roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton. Mr. President.
Yes.
7 through 11 are passed 7-0. Mr. President, we're going to take item 15 out of the consent agenda resolutions.
Public hearings on agenda items number 12 through 14 and 16 through 22 are today. If you wish to address the City Council regarding these items, please come to the microphone, indicate the agenda item number you wish to address, identify yourself by name, address, and who you represent, and if you are a proponent or an opponent. Seeing none, public hearings are closed. Roll call.
Pauls. Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Gray. Jerem. Milton. Mr. President.
Yes.
12 through 14, 16 through 22 are adopted 7-0. Item 15 is a resolution that purchase order to Asphalt Maintenance and Construction Company for the purchase of asphalt recycler for the Public Works Street Division is hereby approved. We have a request from Public Works to withdraw.
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Milton. Mr. President.
Yes.
It's withdrawn 7-0. Resolutions. Item number 23, resolution of the attached 40th Harney Farnham Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Plan located southwest of 40th and Farnham Streets, which proposes rehabilitation of commercial structure located at 4001 Farnham Street and a restoration of a multifamily structure located at 4004 Harney Street is hereby approved.
Public hearing on number 23 is today. Any proponents, please? Ms. Hadley.
Good afternoon, Bridget Hadley, City Planning. Before you is another project in the Blackstone District, and the two properties we're looking at 40th and Farnham as well as 40th and Harney are highlighted in the blue. This particular project represents another project in the Blackstone District that continues the revitalization that is occurring. With this commercial property here at 40th and Farnham, there are about 5 to 6 bays, and I will defer to the developer who would like to give maybe some updates on what's going on in that area, but there are some tenants that are in or that they have committed to some of those spaces. Some exciting things happening in the entire area. With this particular property, which is a residential property, that is going to be completely rehabilitated and taken back to its original structure or number of units, which is 6 units. Right now there are 12 units, and it will be taken back to 6 units, and they will be 3 bedroom units. I've got a couple of renderings. This is the rendering. It may not do the best justice of the residential that is on 40th and Harney, but essentially it does show the character of the architectural design that they intend to keep intact and just clean it up and then do major rehabilitation on the inside. Parking will be in the back of this building for the tenants. And I have a rendering, I think for the rendering I have for the commercial has been updated, so I do not have a more current one, but I think if you've driven in the area, you've probably seen all the activity and the nice facade that is being improved to the current structure. Again, this project is a continuation of revitalization. This area is becoming a destination from the riverfront as you make your way west into downtown to Midtown Crossing area. This is becoming another spot for commercial activity as you continue west. So it's a great thing for the city of Omaha. Definitely is, of course, in our community redevelopment area. It complies with our community development law. The estimated total project cost is over $2.2 million, and it represents $184,500 in TIF with a $15,000 contribution to our Midtown Public Improvement Fund, which is set up to help with public improvements and enhancements in that Midtown area. So with that, I will ask for your approval and maybe defer to the developer to speak if he'd like.
Okay. Other proponents, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the council. Sean Kelly, 7134 Pacific Street on behalf of Green Slate Development. As Bridget explained, this is 40th and Harney, 40th and Farnham. The property was in significant disrepair, and but for tax increment financing, the redevelopment and rehabilitation of this property would not occur. So Matt Dwyer is here on behalf of Green Slate Development. The residential units will be converted from 12 to 6, and I think the tenancy has gone very well on the commercial side as well. Hope to have the commercial done by the end of this year, and residential done and leased hopefully in February of 2015. So with that, be happy to answer any other questions.
And that work has already started, right? The renovation of that property? Yeah.
Yes.
And are you able to say who's going to be a tenant, or is that not?
Sure, no, I can say. So, yeah, Matt Dwyer, Green Slate Development, 450 Regency Parkway. So we were able to keep 2 of the 6 tenants in the building, the Black Squirrel Tattoo Shop and Tim Reeder, who's a MP Dodge agent that represents the Good Life, will stay as tenants. We signed a lease with a flower shop called Bouquet, a vintage barber shop called the Surly Chap, which actually exists right now on 60th and Woolworth. They're moving down. A bicycle shop, a custom cycle shop called Dundee Cycle, which is currently in Dundee but relocating. And we are kind of at the lease stage with a Pizza by the Slice place, which probably shouldn't say much more about that since it hasn't been signed yet. But so that's great. It's exciting. That's 4 more new businesses, which will total about 12 new businesses that will have opened in that district from, January of this year through December of this year. So, and I just want to take a sec to say, as one of the developers down there, this is my partner Jay Lund and I's fourth project in that neighborhood, all of which have been TIF projects, and just want to say thanks to our councilmen and to the council itself and Public Works and Planning and everybody that's chipped in to make these a reality. It's been a great run, and I think we're seeing a lot of new life down there. So
Great.
yeah.
Thanks
And
for
if
what
I
you're
could
doing.
add to thank the Planning Department and Public Works Department, especially Bridget Hadley. Without her help, these projects would not go as smoothly as they do. So, big thanks.
I'll echo that.
Sounds like a great mixture of tenants there. Any other proponents today? Any opponents? Public hearing's closed. Roll call.
Pauls? Yes. Thompson? Yes. Gurnett? Yes. Gray? Yes. Jerem? Milton? Yes. Mr. President?
Yes.
Jerem passed second time for potential conflict of interest. It's adopted 6-0-1 passing. Item number 24, resolution that attests the Port Tax and Refinancing Redevelopment Project located at 4355 Davenport Street, which proposes a complete rehabilitation of multi-family structure is hereby approved.
Public hearing on number 24 is today. Proponents, please.
Bridget Hadley, City Planning. Before you is another TIF project. This is a property highlighted in blue, which is just north of Dodge Street, 1 block north of Dodge. It's in an area where we're seeing a lot of revitalization occurring. We know that there is a hotel that will be going just about southwest of there, between at around Saddle Creek and Dodge. There's the new Mid-City, I believe it's the Mid-City Bank, Premier Bank, that is located just about right here, where my finger is, right along fronting Dodge, and then KC has, revitalized or redeveloped their entire site, and we know that King Kong's is doing the same thing. So there's a lot of revitalization taking place. This particular project is a continuation of infill redevelopment. The property is now vacant. It contains 3 separate structures, and there were a total of 17 units. There are going to be 14, and what they're going to do is make sure that the vacated units that had some code violations are going to be incorporated into the 14. So these will be totally renovated. This inner court, they're going to add balconies to add a little more aesthetic attraction to the property. This particular property will have, there's a little over $1.6 million in total estimated costs and $180,000, of TIF that will be assisted for this project. And with that, I would ask for your approval.
Thank you. Any other proponents today?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the council. My name is Mike Peter, owner PVPM 3328 Hickory. I'd just like to thank Bridget for helping me through the process here. I've worked and done a few TIF projects in my corporate experience, and this would be the personal one that I will be working on with my partner Ben Catt. Do you have that map real quick? I just wanted to point out just kind of one of the things with the property, especially regarding TIF. So this section actually right here was owned by a previous owner. The property was foreclosed, and there was 3 units that had been shut down with code violations for about 3 years or so. So in our opinion, we think this is a really great project for revitalization. We think there's some great things happening in the area, and we'd like to invest in the area. So with that, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. Mr. Jerem.
Yes, Mike, if you'd come up. It appears you learned well at your prior position with America First. So first, congratulate you on your going out on your own, so to speak, and for not being shy about the the area of the city that you're going into in terms of the challenges you had to overcome to make a project like this reality, let alone to make it a quality project that you intend on doing. We've met, you've talked about the landscaping amenities you're going to do, the off-street parking, the shutting down the units on the 44th Street side on the lower level that were problematic. And in a much smaller degree, this kind of reminds me of, in many ways, the Park Avenue and Leavenworth area and the challenges that were there. And so you're being one of the first ones in. And I know you've had discussions with some people for some other properties in the area, and hopefully that they can see the wisdom and the quality of the work that you do to be persuaded that it's worth their time to talk to you about possibly working with you to make another one of these realities. So thank you for your investment and good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Roll call.
Pauls. Thompson. Gurnett. Gray. Jerem. Milton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Adopted 7-0. Pursuant to City Council Rule 7D, the public hearing on agenda items 25 through 32 shall be held on third reading, ordinance on second reading. Item 33, ordinance declaring the necessity appropriating property located at 1556 Florence Boulevard for implementation of the consolidated plan.
Public hearing on number 33 is today. Are there any proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 34, ordinance approving a redevelopment tax and financing loan agreement with 2723 Q Street to implement the Stevens Center Tax and Refinancing Redevelopment Project Plan.
Public hearing on number 34 is today. Are there proponents?
Bridget Hadley, City Planning, here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
We'll take items 35 through 41 for one public hearing. They're all ordinances rescinding prior ordinances. Item 35 are ordinance rescinding ordinance number 38337, approving a tax and refinancing agreement with Building 500 LLC. 36 is ordinance rescinding ordinance 38328, tax and refinancing for the Deal investment. 37 is rescinding ordinance number 37911, tax and refinancing for the Dial Kenneth development. Item 38 is rescinding ordinance number 37300 for the tax and refinancing with the Grover Street acquisitions. 39 is ordinance rescinding ordinance number 38668 for the tax and refinancing for Marcy Mason. 40 is ordinance rescinding ordinance number 37992 for the tax and refinancing for the Skyline Manor. 41 is ordinance rescinding ordinance 38025, tax and refinancing redevelopment project loan with Sutherland Plaza.
Public hearing on items number 35 through 41 are today. Proponents, please.
Bridget Hadley, City Planning. These particular rescissions are our chance to have finally gone through our log or inventory of TIF projects and kind of clean it up. We had these projects that really had never materialized, never performed, and had TIF districts assigned, and so it was our opportunity to look at those and remove them from the list, cancel them formally. So it is administrative just to cancel them formally. Then allows us to notify the county treasurer's office, the county assessor's office, as well as the Department of Revenue, so that they can pull them off of their list, and that will then allow these projects to no longer be reported on the state annual TIF report. These right now have been showing for the last few years, and there's no activity, there's no increment on a majority of them, so it's just our opportunity to clean them up, our inventory, and totally formally rescind these projects that never performed, and then get them off of everyone's list so that we can move forward. You will see another one coming forward, which I know you're all aware of, which is Wall Street. That will come a little bit later, a couple of weeks later. Most of these did not have any TIF generated on these 8. But if there was any TIF that was generated, what we do is those funds were held by finance, because if they never performed, the finance just held those dollars. Those dollars will be redistributed to the taxing jurisdictions after this formal rescission. So I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Any opponents? Mr. Pauls, public hearing is closed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a question. I've noticed as I taking a look at the years, it goes all the way from 206 to pretty well Wall Street. What brings these to light? So you're saying you're rescinding, which I understand. Do you go back every few years? Is that how that process works?
What brings these to light is that these have been on my radar for the last 2 years for sure, that we needed to get these canceled. Some of these did not require formal cancellation. Some were just canceled maybe a month or two ago with a resolution.
Right.
And then there are others that needed an ordinance to cancel. But at least for the last 2 years, it's been on my radar that I've got to get this done. So this is my opportunity to now, I've just had more free time to really get to this. Plus, there have been a couple of projects that have come forward that Sutherland's is one where there have been some questions about, and of course with Wall Street, that we thought, okay, this is really the opportune time to get this done.
Okay, thank you.
And Ms. Hadley, I had a question too. So when we do tax increment financing in the city, there is some limitation under state law about square acreage, I think is the term, of property that can be declared eligible for such. So in removing these properties, as you described, does it also help with that situation?
No, what you're speaking of is in the community development law, it says that a city our size can not have more than 35 acres of property within a CRA, community redevelopment area. So canceling these does not take them, remove that CRA designation, because that's what that refers to.
Okay. In that regard, are we getting close to our limit?
No.
Still have quite a room.
Partly because whenever we annex, we extend our city's boundary, and so therefore our percentage just continues to shrink in terms of what is actually within a CRA.
Okay. Thank you. No further lights. Next item.
Item 42, ordinance to accept the bid of FBG Service Corporation to enter into a 3-year price agreement for carpet cleaning services at the 9 Omaha Police Department facilities.
Public hearing on number 42 is today. Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 43, ordinance to approve an agreement with Eastern Nebraska Community Action Partnership to provide services and programs to juveniles in Omaha.
Public hearing on number 43 is today. Are there any proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 44, ordinance to amend section 23-177 by changing the title of employment classification known as Visitors Services Public Relations Manager to Visitor Service Manager.
Public hearing on number 44 is today. Are there any proponents? Any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 45, ordinance to approve a firefighter grant program, fire prevention and safety grant to provide purchase and installation of smoke carbon monoxide detectors for targeted populations.
Public hearing on number 45 is today. Are there any proponents? Any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 46, ordinance to amend Omaha Municipal Code, Chapter 44, Electrical Code to adopt the 2014 edition of the National Electric Code to clarify the types of electrical wiring methods allowed within the city's jurisdiction for both residential and commercial buildings.
Public hearing on number 46 is today. Proponents, please. Mr. Davis.
Jay Davis, Assistant Planning Director and Superintendent of the Permits and Inspection Division. We're asking today to adopt the 2014 National Electrical Code as adopted by the state in April of this year. We're asking to do it with only certain amendments involving commercial wiring on strip center type facilities and also service conductors and feeders to buildings still being in approved various ways. So I'll be here. There's people behind me that probably want to speak, so I'll be here to answer any questions anytime.
Thank you. Other proponents, please.
Hello, I'm Steve Anderson, owner of Steve Anderson Electrical Contractors out in Millard, 4850 South 137th Street. I've been an electrician in Omaha for 40 years. I've owned my own business for 19 of those. I've served on the City Electrical Board since 2005 with a 3-year time where I wasn't on the board. Prior to that, my father served for 24 years on the City Electrical Board. The Anderson family has deep roots in the electrical industry in Omaha. There's only two reasons not to allow MC cable in commercial buildings in Omaha. Right now it is allowed with special permission, and it is being granted. It's being requested. It's being allowed. I don't even know of any instances where it hasn't been allowed when requested. It's safe. The only two reasons not to allow it is it's so much cheaper to install than installing a conduit system, pulling conductors through that conduit system and making your joints, because the MC cable has the wire built in it. So it saves a ton of time. It's cheaper to install, so we can't charge as much. That's one reason not to allow it. The other is, for the future, you can't easily pull additional circuits to certain areas. If you're underneath a window in an office building, the folks are cold there and they need a circuit for a heater. With a conduit system, you can pull a couple of conductors through and put in another circuit to an outlet very simply without having to mess up any drywalled walls. In houses, we fish wires all the time. Once in a while, we have to put in an extra small hole for fishing. If you have MC cable and you have to fish in an outlet underneath a window in a commercial job, it's still doable. There might be a little patching and painting to do, but the MC cable is still extremely safe. I think that the unions have been against this because it is a labor-saving installation, and you can't charge as much. But the unions over at the plant the office building not to be named across the river, the Google plant, they pulled miles and miles of MC cable, and it has worked over in Iowa, and they're getting the large projects and the large buildings. I think it's time to bring some to Omaha, and it's completely safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I got one other thing. I pulled, and I've always done this, sitting on the board, I feel that I represent other electricians in the industry, and I called my brother Scott Anderson at Anderson Electric this morning, and he is in favor of allowing this to go through. I talked to John Howe from Howe Electric. He is in favor of this going through. I talked to Mike Anderson from Great Plains Electric. He is in favor of this going through. I talked to Larry Verriger of Verriger Electric. He's still on the fence. He's not sure. He can go either way. He's not for it. He's not against it. There's certain pros and cons, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents today?
Good afternoon. My name is George Stronero. I work for AFC Cable Systems, and I'm here today representing NACMA, the National Armored Cable Manufacturers Association. The members of NACMA produce over 95% of the armored cable, metal clad cable in this country. I provided the council a package for later reference in helping with your decision. Armored cable and metal clad cable is not new wiring methods. The wiring methods are used extensively throughout the country. The products are listed by Underwriters Laboratories for use in accordance with the National Electrical Code, which means simply that the product standards and the testing involved for these products are based on its use, its intended use. A direct burial product would have crush and impact type performance tests. Underwriters comes into our factories on a daily basis to inspect product to make sure that the proper procedures are being used. Evidence of that is a UL label that they place on the product. In the case of armored and metal-clad cables, Underwriters accounts for every single foot of product that comes out of our factories that has their labels. Evidence of the extensive use of this product, since 1990, 31 billion feet of these cables have been installed. More recently, in the last 10 years, 19 billion feet has been installed. Since 1990 was half a billion feet was installed. The last year there was 1.8 billion feet installed. So it's not a newcomer. It's a wiring method that's safe and is a practical wiring method. It provides mechanical protection. It has steel or aluminum armor on it. These metals have a tensile strength of 40,000 psi. Put it in perspective, the insulation underneath it has a 3,000 psi tensile strength. So it's there to provide the mechanical protection for the cable. Nail penetration behind walls I've included in your package a fact-finding investigation from Underwriters Laboratories where they did tests. They put the cables and raceways, metallic and non-metallic raceways, and tried to drill holes through it. And you'll see from the results, the nature of the product and the steel allows the cable to flex away from it and or to deflect the penetration. The cables are flame resistant. It's metal, it doesn't burn. It's listed by underwriters as having limited smoke characteristics, and it's for use in air handling spaces. Installation. It's not any harder to install MC cable, AC cable than it is any other wiring method. NECA, National Electrical Contractors Association, has a document, National Electrical Installation Standards, that they use for training their apprentices. It was written jointly with NACMA, and I've included a copy in the package. Also, the manufacturers, National Electrical Manufacturers Association, puts out a document, applications and installations of the cable. So, you know, it's like I say, it's a widely used product, well known on how to use it, how to install it, and where to install it. Safety record between it and conduit, there's no difference. The products, both conduits and cables, are intended for use in the National Electrical Code. When installed properly, both products are safe. Something different and unique are the armored and metal-clad cables. Every foot of it, before it leaves our factories, has to have a spark test. That's a voltage is applied to it to make sure that the insulation is sound. Continuity to make sure there's no break within the wire, and there's a high voltage test that's done from one conductor to the next, all the conductors to the armor, to make sure that it's a sound product. The cable is approved throughout the country. I've included in the package a list of the major cities where it is used. Current projects, just to mention a few, number 4 World Trade Center, the Hard Rock Casino in Iowa, Good Samaritan Hospital in Indiana, Amazon in Wisconsin, State Farm in Texas, Presbyterian Rest Cancer Center in New Mexico. There are projects in Nebraska and in Omaha, as a previous speaker mentioned. It's by special permission, and it is being used. A number of projects: Concordia University, Homewood Suites, Holiday Inn, Hampton Inn, and I've included the list in your package, not to read them here. In conclusion, these metal cables provide a safe alternative to the current method that's permitted here in Omaha. The National Electrical Code explicitly permits the use of the cable, not in all applications. It's only intended to be used where its purpose is intended by the National Electrical Code. You wouldn't use it where it doesn't belong. That's why it's a safe product. The same with the raceways. You wouldn't use it where it doesn't belong. I'm here again to provide that background information and to answer any questions. I'm a manufacturer of the product. I sit on the National Electrical Code panels for NFPA to help develop these requirements. If I can answer any questions now or as we proceed, and I've left a card if you do have questions down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents today?
Scott Novak, Millard Electric, 10306 South 144th, and I'm a proponent on MC AC cable, manufactured wiring systems, the 3 stories or less. We're this day and age in 2015, we're not in the Stone Age anymore. These are good products, they're safe products. We've just heard we should be using them in Omaha. The electrical field, the National Electrical Code lays out guidelines on installation. There's no reason that we should not be using these installations, these products here in Omaha. We should be using them. It could bring projects to the area. I've had customers that tweak certain things to get by the rules. They would be more willing to come build their buildings and projects here in this town if they were available, as opposed to going across Harrison Street, across the creek. I think it would bring more business and tax dollars to the city of Omaha. I thank you, Council.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents?
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the council. My name is Dan Hughes. I am a business representative with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 22 here in Omaha, Nebraska at 8946 L Street. On behalf of our entire organization, we stand in opposition of this proposed ordinance for a multitude of reasons, but none more important than the fact that the City of Omaha Electrical Board has voted against it, and I believe, if I'm correct, that was a 3-to-1 vote. This board represents the electrical industry as a whole and has a composite makeup of electrical engineering, utility union, non-union journeyman electricians, as well as union and non-union electrical contractors, with no side being weighted. These individuals are industry professionals, and that's why their appointments were approved. Their ultimate responsibility is to protect and serve the public interest. With all due respect, we believe it makes no sense for the City Electrical Department to pursue this ordinance without majority support of its board. EMT, we believe, offers more protection. It's going to be stronger than the armored cable, even though it's approved, it's UL approved. Yes, the electrical code does allow it, but the National Electrical Code is also a minimum standard. It's not the top of the board. These are the minimum requirements for electrical installations. So, I mean, going above and beyond for reasons of safety is definitely not frowned upon. The current law in the city allows for the special use permit, which has been brought up, and which can be issued to make legal the installation of this armored cable in a case-by-case basis. And we would urge as council to continue with this practice versus making the preferred method of installation. We support the electrical board in their decision to oppose this ordinance and ask the city council do the same and thereby keep the current ordinance in place. We've had, I believe you've received probably about 90 emails in regards to this issue, and those came from registered voters. They also came from professionals in the field, people that install these systems every day. So just like you to take those into consideration, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Other proponents, or other opponents, I'm sorry. See none, public hearing's closed. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could have Jay Davis come up.
Jay Davis, Assistant Planning Director.
Jay, I'm one of those people that I learn by seeing.
Okay.
And I would love to see what it is that we're going to be voting on. What is the difference between what we use now as preferred versus the new or the national standards,
okay,
minimum standards?
As it turns out, I brought Dennis Small, my chief electrical inspector. He's really good at carrying pieces around. So the cable in question, the MC cable, is this. It's one unit. The wire is already installed in it. Very flexible, can be installed in a lot of different places. It has requirements for how it's installed, including, which we've heard before, the grounding on the end of the wire when they cut this off. It can be cut off with special tools. That's what the manufacturers recommend. They also say you can cut it with basically your lineman cutters in the field. The product that we currently use, this is right. What we allow in the city current right now, this is a raceway. It's an approved raceway. It's a flexible metal raceway. They pull the conductors in the field on this. So if you look at that versus the other one, the other preferred method, which is hard pipe, EMT, a lot of different names for it, these two are in function are essentially the same. The difference is I can pull this wire out. I can probably pull the wire out of that one if I wanted to, but it has to be pulled in the field. It's installed as the flexible tubing, and then the wires are pulled through it. This particular product, not a lot of difference between the two.
except the wires are already installed from the factory. So everybody's correct. The amount of time to install this product is substantially less, which is a cost saving to eventually the building owner as it goes down the line. As the manufacturer's representative said, they're both approved. All three of these are UL approved assemblies. We live on UL approved assemblies throughout the code. As the union pointed out, the code is a minimum standard. We use a minimum standard on everything that we do. It doesn't mean you can't design above that minimum standard, but if we didn't state that minimum standard, whether it's the building code, electrical code, plumbing code, mechanical code, our buildings would become too costly in the city to work with. And so that's why we're saying the code allows this. We would like to allow it in the city of Omaha without permission.
Would it be accurate to say that under the old or current standard, I have to spend more time fishing the wire through, one at a time?
Well, like any other process, you become very efficient at it. You know, I mean, you can, I don't know how long it takes a tradesman to actually pull the wire through here, but if you're making one pull versus 4 pulls, there's obviously some savings there somewhere. Granted, they'd bundle the wires and pull them at the same time, but...
The newer one that we're looking at adopting comes prefabricated.
That's correct. It comes with the wires already in place. They're bonded throughout. You can get them in any number of combination of conductors you need, whether it be 3, 5, 6, 9, whatever the case is.
Are they rated the same in terms of performance?
I believe they are, yes.
Okay. Are there any statistics or records out there of underperformance of what you have in your hand right now?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Okay. Is there another flatter wire?
The other wire that you're referring to is what we call a Romex, which is a sheathed cable as well. It's just a different application. We use these in apartments and single-family residential all the time. What it basically is it's your conductors are within basically a plastic sheath at that time. They're easy to pull through the walls. They go into the box. They have certain fastening requirements, certain conductor requirements. The National Electric Code actually allows us to go into 4-story wood apartment buildings as well, which we haven't done in the past. But because of the new construction methods and the new requirements in code for fire sprinkler and fire protection, we've been asked to use this. We have locations in town that have already tried it, just for us to see if it was going to work and become effective, and we think that it probably is. It saves the developers on those projects money as well. Again, it's a simple pull-through. Don't have to put the raceway in place. You don't have to put the boxes in. The boxes still go in place. They have connectors to hold them into the box. Everything is relatively the same, except it's not a hard pipe or a flexible metal pipe.
And that's compared to what?
As far as
that one comparative to what else?
This is a residential product.
Okay.
The amendments you do have, the National Electrical Code does allow this in commercial strip centers.
Okay.
We do not want it.
You don't want it because why?
This, we're afraid, in a commercial environment is too susceptible to too many things.
Such as?
People damaging it by accident. If you go into a storeroom in a mall, for example, or in a small strip center, their storeroom's stacked to the ceiling. They don't have a ceiling in there. They could accidentally clip these wires. That's why the MC cable or the approved metallic raceways, that's the amendment that we put forward. We believe that truly is a safety issue that we need to be concerned about.
So a nail could pierce this?
It could.
Okay. What does the public need to know about plug and play?
Plug and play? That's a term we use pretty loosely. It's a manufactured wiring system. It's used mostly in, like your big box stores use it for their lighting circuits. They can put one junction box up and basically plug the lights into it through a very similar looking cable. You're gonna, I had Dennis get me lots of stuff. This would be a junction box, for example, that goes up. This wires back to the panel. Then they could put 3 circuits onto that, whether it be lights. They basically just have a male-female receptacle. They plug in, they lock in. Each of them has a different locking mechanism that they use. And this allows them to install light fixtures, office equipment, on that end, Dennis. A number of different things quickly and easily, just by basically they have the wire manufactured off-site. They bring it in, and obviously I'm not an electrician, so we're not going to try and go there, but plug it together, at least I admit it, guys. It plugs together so that for like lighting in your big box stores, it just gives them some flexibility with only one junction box in place, and it's just an easier plug-in device for them to use.
Okay, you're saying flexibility. Are there any savings in terms of time with that?
Obviously, yes. The manufacturer, the architect sends the plans out to the and the engineer sends the plans out to the manufacturer. They come in already to the length that they need to where they're going and to where they're going to be installed. So once they come in, they just set it, clip this to where they need it to support it, take it to the panel, and then this comes up from their light fixture, supported how it's supposed to be plugged in. Same is somewhat true of our office furniture pieces, the modular offices. They use a very similar connection.
Are they using those in other places surrounding us?
Yes. The National Electrical Code has allowed these for how many years, Dennis? Yeah, it's been a long time, but they've been allowed to use this elsewhere in the state, actually elsewhere around us. The City of Papillion, City of Bellevue, City of La Vista have all adopted the state version of the electrical code without amendments, so it's been allowed to be used there. Obviously, currently, they're using it across the river in Iowa.
Tell me more about that.
We understand that up through building 6 or 7 on Google, they were using the hard pipe and or flexible conduit method. To cut costs, they switched to the MC cable over there, and they're now wiring the rest of their buildings in the MC cable as both a cost savings and time savings feature for them.
When you say cost savings, are you talking about 2% savings or 15% savings or what?
I can't answer that honestly because I don't know what their cost savings are, but apparently it was enough for them to switch completely on their system.
So it's substantial savings?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to share?
I don't believe so. Not yet,
Okay.
anyway.
Mr. Anderson, if you can come back up, please.
Yes, sir.
I'm understanding that the board voted 3-1, I guess, or something close to that. Were you on the board when it voted?
I was on the board, but I was out of town for that meeting. Otherwise, it would have been 3-2.
Okay.
And we've been short one member since Terry Percello from OPPD retired May 1st. We haven't gotten that position filled. Otherwise, it might have been a 3-3 tie. We don't know.
There are 6 people on the board?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you shed any light, you weren't there, but can you shed any light on the electrical board's thinking?
Well, we have had this topic of conversation for the 9 years that I've been on the board or during that time frame and many years before that. It's always been a contentious thing. You can't just pull additional wires through the MC cable. It has the wire already in it for additional circuits. That's the only complaint that I've ever heard is you might have to cut some drywall to fish another piece of MC cable through. It's been the only topic of discussion other than you can't charge more money because it doesn't take longer.
When you say that, it almost makes me feel that you're intimating that it's a union-driven opposition because of saving jobs for their buddies or something.
That is my feelings on it.
Okay. You want us to at least take a look at that, is what you're saying?
Well, I'd love to see you approve it. The planning department does their research quite well. I'd like to see you approve it and let the city move forward and be a big player in the big buildings.
And right now, you don't think we are
We're losing,
equally big player?
Correct. We're losing some across the river and across the county line.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's perfectly safe. It speeds up the job, so it's going to make it cheaper for the ultimate building owner and the tenants or the renters or the buyers, everybody. I mean, if it's cheaper, it benefits everyone. Well, except the...
But in this case, cheaper doesn't have to necessarily mean inferior.
Oh, it's not. No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll yield the floor at this time. Might come back later.
Thank you. Ms. Milton.
Actually, if you could stay up here real quick, I have a question for, sorry about that, Mr. Anderson. Councilman Thompson had just asked about cost, and so prior to today, I actually contacted a commercial contractor down in Kansas City, where these actually are approved, and they use them quite frequently down in Kansas City. And he gave me just some estimates on the cost, and I just want to see if you think he's kind of within the cost of Omaha. He had stated that if 100 feet of the EMT cable, and he states with 3 number 12 conductors, would be an estimated cost of about $548 per 100 feet. And his statement was the MC cable with the same conductors would be about $333, meaning there'd be a savings of about 39%. And he further went on that if APMC cable was used, that would be an estimated cost of $321, which would be a 41% reduction in cost. And I know we kind of put you on the spot on reduction in cost. Would you agree that the cost savings are within those percentages?
I don't know the numbers. I haven't researched them, but common sense tells you if it's taking you a third as long to wire something using a different wiring method, you're at least going to cut your labor costs down by 2/3. So yeah, I suppose the numbers are probably good, but I haven't done the math.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No further lights. Next item.
Pursuant to City Council Rule 70, the public hearing on agenda item 47 shall be held on third reading. Pursuant to City Council Rule 7C, the public hearing on agenda items 48 through 51 shall be held on the second reading.
Motion to go into exec session. Second.
Motion is second. Roll call.
Pauls? Thompson? Gurnett? Gray? Jerem? Milton? Mr. President.
Yes, the council will now adjourn into executive session to discuss only labor negotiations.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion and a second, roll call.
Pauls? Yes. Thompson? Yes. Gurnett? Yes. Gray?
Yes.
Jerem? Yes. Milton? Yes. Mr. President?
Yes.
3:45. Adjourn?
Motion adjourned. Second.
Roll call.
Oh, wait a minute, do you have to make your statement first?
The City Council has not come out of executive session in which we only discussed labor negotiations.
Motion adjourned. Second.
Roll call.
Pauls? Yes. Thompson?
Yes.
Gurnett?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Jerem? Yes. Milton? Yes. And Mr. President?
Yes.
3:45.
America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.